live from our studios in Kingstown, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines. It's your favorite Thursday night show, Up Late with Sion Marshall. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the host of tonight's show, Sion Marshall.
Good evening, and welcome to today's edition of Update with Sion Marshall. I'm your host, Sion Marshall. Thank you so much for joining. It's Thursday, 7th of April 2025, and this evening we have a very exciting program for you. Let me apologize for the late start that was due to some technical difficulties that we were experiencing. Now, I internet. Unfortunately, I'm not the one who provides the internet for the programs, and people having some connectivity issues. But that's all sorted out now, and we should be ready to go. This evening, we have a very special program lined up for you. Let me see. I'm trying to find, as usual, the program to share. And I encourage you as well, those of you who are watching, to share the program as well. Hold on, let me find it. Oh, there it is. And I'm going to give you 10 seconds to share the program in the same way that I'm going to. All right, so let me do that. There's already signal that we are on air, so hold on. And click it quickly. I think my director has already added my guest into the studio. I don't know why I didn't add it yet, but you don't add me guest. Now here, we say add guest, but you add the bar. Um, let's see. Let's share that. Good. This evening, now many of you may have seen images of whether videos or images of a new ferry, fast ferry that's operating in St. Vincent. And this evening, I have with us the CEO of that ferry service, Mr. Garvin Ollivierre, with us. He's staying up with us this evening. So let me welcome Garvin to this evening's program and begin our chat as to what we can expect from this new ferry service. Garvin, good evening and welcome to Update with Sion Marshall.
Good evening, Sian. How are you?
I am well, Garvin, and let me apologize for the late start. We had some technical difficulties, and you and I were communicating all along. And so we are late because we should start at 9 o'clock. But because of that, we are slightly late. But I'm good.
Okay, wonderful.
Wonderful. I like that. I like that things are wonderful because we're going to talk and get into the wonderful situation that you're in. But before we get into the specifics of the service, let's into Garvin and his experience in this whole issue of captain and the seas and the waters and so forth. And I'm from Beckwith, and I guess it's natural that someone from the island of Beckwith of St. Vincent will be into the sea. So that's a little bit about Garvin.
Yeah, I'm not hearing you so clearly. I'm not sure if it's the internet, but the last thing I heard you were saying about Beckway, and so I didn't hear it clearly there.
I want to know a little bit about Garvin himself. Uh, let's so what I was asking
Okay.
sorry. All right. So what I was asking Gavin is for you to tell our audience. Are you hearing better?
Yeah, a little bit better, yeah.
Fantastic. All right. So what I was asking was for you to tell the audience a little bit about who Garvin Ollivierre is and a bit of his experience regarding captaining ships and so forth.
Well, first of all, I grew up in Beckway, and somebody that grew up in Beckway, you fall in love with the ocean, the sea. Mostly as a kid, you go to the beach almost every day when you're growing up. The sea was your livelihood. Uh, like in the 90s, and so tourism wasn't as big as it is now. So, the sea was basically everybody's livelihood. Fishing was very popular back then, but then, you know, everybody probably know me as a taxi driver. 'Cause that's what I used to do. Basically, for I was it 16 years, 15, 16 years. So, you know, I got I got involved in the tourism sector, and I got to love that, meeting different people from different places. And so it's been like that for me, meeting people in different places. You know, from meeting people in different places, I get different ideas about certain things. To be honest, I never thought I would ever become a captain, to be honest. And
Okay.
then in 2019, we came up with an idea that, from my father taxi service, we deal with transportation in terms of that transportation sector since I think my dad since 86. That's the same year I was born. So in 2019, we think about, what about expanding, probably going into the marine transportation. Uh, and then COVID came in 2020. So that put a halt on a lot of stuff. So originally the plan started in March 2019 about getting a ferry that can go faster, carry cargo, carry passenger, so that's when it all started. Uh, for the last 30 years, it's been from Beckwith to St. Vincent, it's been 1 hour. So we wanted to change that and create something different, something new. It's not really about competing with the other ferries, but in terms of creating something different and something more modern, faster, as our team, you know, that's what our basic concept. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So
Okay.
as I said, it came into plan in March 2019. So it's been like 6 years if you look at it, the whole plan, and to get it here, COVID, came in 2020. So you had all these challenges. Okay. But
Okay.
it's finally here, so which is good. It's been good for a start, as you know, in any business. It takes a while for it to pick up. Everybody wants to see how it works, before they move to you. You know how business is.
Okay.
You don't look
Now,
for everything in one year.
right, right. Now, Gavin, you said you started in the taxi service, and I noticed that in terms because when you sent me your email address, it says Garvin Taxi,
Correct.
um, and you moved from taxi service into ferry. But before moving into ferry, did you have any experience at all in ferry in boats? Because you did a taxi and you did a taxi for a number of years, but did you have any experience at all
No,
in boat?
not much, not much, not much like in the last. Before that, not much like in the last 3 years. In the last 3 years, yes. I went to school in Panama. That's when I did my license, my captain license. Okay.
Okay,
But in 2020, I was in Miami on a yacht there for a while, like 6 weeks. And so when COVID, then I had to come back home because, COVID was getting bad in the States and all of that. That was in October, November, December in 2020. So, that's when COVID was really bad.
Right, right.
So that kind of stalled me a bit as well. And then in March of 2022, that's when we bought this boat. Okay. Then I went and did my license in November 2022, my captain license. So I have
Mm-hmm.
I have my license now over 2 years, going 3 years. Uh,
Okay.
but there has been a lot of challenges in terms of getting the boat. Yes, actually takes us 3 years. One of the challenge was always shipping and getting stuff more than anything else.
Okay. Now we'll talk a little bit about the challenges in a little bit, but I want you to, for those listening, because there's some videos are floating around, and I've not been able to upload because I was having some difficult technical difficulties before, and you sent me some videos. But
Mm-hmm.
um, for those who are viewing us here, and by the way, those who are viewing, people like Kay and Kojo and so forth and El Kata, please share the live so that others can know that we are on, and we're chatting with Mr. Garvin Ollivierre, the CEO of the new ferry company that has launched in Vincent and Grenady. So, what's the name of the company, Gavin?
Back with fast ferries.
Beckwith Fast ferries. So that's different than the other ferries that's there. So that's another mode of transportation that is available. So we chatted with Gavin. So please share the live so that others can join and be made
Sure.
aware of what is happening here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Gavin, can you describe the ferry for those who are watching? Because I tell you, I've gone on the other fast ferry. The other fast ferry, nice, comfortable, speedy, but it doesn't carry anything else but passengers. Very little cargo, and it carries passengers. The regular ferries carry passengers, vehicles, and cargo. But yours is a fast ferry. So please describe for those who are viewing your fast ferry.
Yes. Okay. Well, as you stated, you have one ferry, which we call, the Drayden Sun, which
The Jaden
everybody
Sun.
call it the
Yes, the
fast
fast
ferry.
ferry. Yes.
Uh, that is a aluminum, what we call a catamaran. So like you have two pontoons. All right. So what the pontoon does, you have less displacement in the water. Okay. So I don't know if you understand what displacement is.
Yes. So
So it
the
means
rocking and
it's
the
the
rocking.
force that is going through the water with the
Right.
weight, the displacement. So with a cat, the way it's designed, it designed for less displacement in the water. So it's definitely designed to go faster than the other boats. They call them monohull boats or the other type of boats. So they have more displacement, more weight. So you have more forcing through the water. With the cat, you have less force through the water. So that's what they call displacement. Okay. Now, with the Beckwith Fast Ferry, our boat is actually designed to carry about 40 cars, 350 passengers. Um, this boat is actually wider than all the ferry. It is shorter than basically, I will say, 95% of the ferry is shorter. But it's wider, so it's more stable because of the width. Normally, with a narrow boat and a longer boat, is less stability. A shorter boat and wider boat, you have more stability. Okay, so that's the difference with this boat. It's not as fast as the other fast ferry. I think the other fast ferry, their top speed is probably around 25, but our top speed is only like 18 knots. But we cruising at 15 knots, so that give us the time between Beckwith and St. Vincent about 40 minutes. Okay.
Okay.
Um, But our boat was built and designed in Australia, which I'm not sure how many persons familiar with Australia, but they are one of the best builders of those fast ferries. Even those fast ferries here in Trinidad, those are built in Australia, and they are
Mm,
actually built by the same company.
okay.
Built all those boats.
So,
Okay,
so you said you're saying that your ferry can carry up to 40 vehicles and 350 passengers. Is that correct?
that's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
That when I
And
say vehicle, I'm talking about like the cars.
the cars. Okay.
Yeah, probably like pickup trucks, probably about 32, 34.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
But at least in terms of fast ferries,
Hmm.
yours, as we call them, because you would be the second fast ferry that we have.
Correct.
You're the only one that can carry both vehicles and the passengers because the other one doesn't carry
Correct.
vehicles at all.
Correct.
Okay. Now, what you said it take about 40 minutes to Beckway?
Yeah, like these last 2 days will take 4 minutes. The weather was a bit cloudy. Um, some people some people have different way they time the boat. Some people will say ramp up to ramp down. Some people say from the cruise ship, the end of the cruise ship to the harbor and back way. So people have different way they time the journey. Um, so like from the end of the cruise ship boat to the Beckway Harbor, sometimes we take 30 minutes. Ramp down 40 minutes. Ramp up to ramp down. You have to slow down, turn around,
Of course,
back
of
up,
course,
put
of
down.
course, of course.
Okay.
But that but that
Then
that
some people
significantly.
measure from
Sorry.
King Garden Point to the Beckway Point,
Hmm.
28 minutes. That's the fastest we did.
Okay. But even so, in terms of time, if someone were to take the regular, let's say Admiral or Beckway Express, then you're reducing your journey time by at least 20 minutes. If
Yeah,
you
one
between
third of your time.
yes of the time. Now, what's the difference in pricing, Gavin, between someone traveling on the Admiral or because, as I said, and I'm using those because they're the only ones that allow you to take your vehicles as well. If I want to go to Beckley, for example, this weekend because there's Easter and there's a lot of activities happening, and I want to take my car with me, I can only take the Beckley Fast Ferry, the Admiral, or the Beckley Express.
Correct.
What is the difference in pricing, both from a passenger standpoint and from a vehicle standpoint?
But on the passenger standpoint is what we did in terms of the pricing, we created a non-national price and a local price. Okay. For the locals, we decided basically based on the fluid that we're burning, we should actually be charging 30 EC one way. But we decided for the locals and to do, keep the price fair enough for locals, we decided to do 25 EC one way for the locals. So basically on the return is 50 EC for locals. The non-national is 60 EC return. Okay, so the price is like $5 to $10 different to the other ferries and the return
And and for someone who wants to take their vehicle,
is $10 different and the
okay,
return.
okay. Now you got into the ferry business and you were doing Beckway. Do you have any plans to go beyond the Beckway?
Well, definitely, as anybody doing business, your plan is to expand and go further. Um, but since we came, I mean, since I came and we come to custom there, I've been getting a lot of criticism about why you're not running to the Southern Grenadines, why it's only backward, what happened to the Grenadines. So I've been getting, as we say, some licks for that.
And how do you respond to that, Garvin? Because that's
Well,
fair. It's fair.
I mean, it's fair
If
enough
they
from
all
their
we all
point of
think that
view.
we all say hello.
Yeah, it's fair enough from their point of view, and I welcome any comments from anybody. I'm not afraid to. I'm not going to shy away from any comments. Um, so now we just want to start, build something, let people see how reliable we are, let people see how the boat is going, how the engines are working, holding up. You know, as someone that is starting a new business, I'm still new to the ferry, but of course, I have experience in transportation, in the transportation business.
Right.
But so I'm still, new in it, so I have to be careful and try to start small. I just don't want to run, go here, here, there, like a headless chicken. So, I gotta feel it out, and I just want to build up the company first.
Okay. So there is no doubt that in the future you can expand beyond Beckwith into the Southern Grenadines. That's the point. That's basically what you're telling us.
Of course, and there is no restriction in St. Vincent that only allows me to run between Beckwith and St. Vincent. So St. Vincent and Grenadines is one, so there's no restriction. So if today I decide I want to go to Union, I can do that. Tomorrow, Tuesday, next day, whatever.
Let's talk a little bit, Gavin, about the business itself and any support that you got. How difficult was it for you to um, start this operation? And I'm talking about in terms of support from the the state. What
Hmm.
level of support did you get from the state?
Well, in terms of the government, we didn't have a problem. The government always welcomed the idea. That wasn't a problem. Um, our biggest problem was always, finance is always a problem in any business you go to. Uh, that was the biggest challenge. Uh, then after we bought the boat, the biggest challenge was getting materials to Rotan in Honduras to the dock. Sometimes it take months. As I remember with my life raft, it took me 2 years to get those things, which was supposed to be 6 months. So it was always a challenge. Very frustrated at times, but I gotta thank God a lot for everything. I gotta thank my family, my wife. Yeah, they've been remarkable supporting me all the time. I don't think without them I would have been able to do it, especially without my wife. To be honest, she was always there. You know what? There's times, yes, you know, sometimes you feel like giving up, but I always told them, just be patient. It will come one day. And I thank the good Lord, He brought us here, and we're here operating now.
Now you mentioned Honduras, and I'm going to have to tell a bit of a story, Gavin, because uh, those watching wouldn't know, but I met Gavin through someone else. I met years ago when I was a diplomat at the consulate. I was the deputy consul general. I met Dave Marshall and his son Elliot Marshall.
That's correct.
Dave is someone who married a Vincentian lady, and the other son called Elliot, and I was assisting in the passport of Elliot, which is the junior marshal, who's also a captain. And it was through Elliot I met Garvin, and Garvin at the
Small
time was
world.
based in small world, absolutely small world, and Garvin at the time was based in Honduras. Garvin, you got your license in Miami. This work was done in Honduras, but according to you, you bought the boat in the Bahamas. Explain to me how all of those things came together.
Yeah, well, actually in 2020, we went and see the boat, but COVID, man, I don't like to talk about that experience there in Bahamas when COVID and all of that. That was the worst time I went through an airport, so I don't want to speak about that. They had me there in one room like I'm some illegal person, so I don't like to speak about it. But yeah, I went there to see the boat in 2020 while I was actually in Miami. Okay. And then I only had only 3 days there they gave me, right? You know, all this thing about COVID and, St. Vincent was totally different, as we know. We didn't have no
Hmm.
lockdowns, nothing like that
Right,
in St.
right,
Vincent
right, right.
compared to the other countries. So they only gave us like 3 days, so I had to go and see the board and look at it. So when I was coming back through the immigration, they had me know, oh, why I'm here during COVID. So it was a lot of questions, but that's something I would talk about on live media, the whole story, what went down there.
Right.
So that's when it actually started. As I said, 2019, March, we think about this, put a plan together, look around what would be the right boat. 2020, I went to see it. 2022, we bought it. And then I was in Bahamas for 3 months. Again, something I don't want to talk about my experience there with immigration. So many times they only give me like, wow, sometimes they give me 2 days, 7 days, so I had to keep back and forth. So this is all about, you know, all the ups and downs about this project as well. Coming back to that. And I was there for 3 months because we were waiting on a tug to tow the boat back. Sorry, to tow the boat to Roatan, Honduras to do all the repairs. So it took us about 3 months before the tug come to take the boat, take it down. Then we got to Roatan, I think it was in June or July 2022 when we got there. And that's when work started to begin. Then the problem was getting materials. But other than that, I had I learned a lot more about boating more than anything, especially on dock and dry dock. There's a lot of rules, a lot of uh, different, a lot of different things you have to learn more than just captaining a boat.
Hmm.
Uh, in terms of the type of welding, the welding rods, what is required, aluminum welding, steel welding, different protocols when you're inside of a dry dock, your safety. So it's a lot of things I had to learn more than what I learned in school. So it was a hands-on experience as well
Hmm. Hmm.
and in the dry dock. So basically, as I said, we were basically there 2.5 years. So
Wow.
it was quite an experience. And I also had 3 other crew with me down there, 2 engineers and the mate for the boat. So basically, those guys, they know the boat inside out.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Now, we just talked a little bit about the possibility and the necessity of expanding beyond just the Northern Grenadines Beckway. And understandably, you
Correct.
mentioned that you would want to first of all familiarize yourself with that road, the St. Vincent Beckway road first, know it and so forth, and really solidify it before you then contemplate going beyond there into Canoan, Mairo, Union Island. But I'm going to throw another question for you, Gavin, because
Sure.
at this time when regional air travel is not very consistent, yes, we have some airlines that do travel. There has been talk about a regional ferry, at least to Barbados, maybe to Trinidad, St. Lucia, Grenada, for years. And we hear about this one ferry starting up and possibly starting, but none has ever started. Is it possible that at some point, after having done the entire Grenadines route, that the Beckwith Fast Ferry can look to expand to going outside of St. Vincent and the Grenadines to maybe Barbados as a main hub, Trinidad, for example?
A very good question. And as you say, there has been a lot of talks about that in terms of connecting St. Vincent, Grenada, St. Lucia, possible Barbados as well. But I, the difference is people look at Trinidad and Tobago. But one thing we have to keep in mind, Trinidad and Tobago population is over a million. All right. And population is key. The difference with St. Vincent, you have islands. Okay. We have what, nine inhabited islands, right? Correct? Now
So we
St.
have,
Lucia
yes,
is only St. Lucia,
yes.
right? Grenada, you have Carriacou, Petit Martinique, Grenada. Barbados is only Barbados. Now let's do the maths in terms of population. Grenada, St. Vincent, Barbados, St. Lucia. What's you add those population? How much you got? St. Lucia is two hundred
You
and
have
some
less than half a
thousand.
million. You have less than half a million people.
Good. So Trinidad have more than a million people. So that's one thing you gotta look at is the population and how much people travel from St. Lucia to St. Vincent, Barbados, Grenada. Yes, there's an option for that to happen, but mm, in terms of passenger traveling, you really have to look between the population. And I don't think it's the population is big enough for that. In terms of cargo, yes, between all these islands, well, St. Vincent, feed, a lot of these islands in terms of
Right.
agriculture.
Agriculture. Yes, yes.
Yeah. So, in terms of goods, definitely you have that market there. But for now, that population is one of the problem that's probably holding back a lot of other companies from doing that. Trinidad is different. They have over a million in the population. I think it's 1.2 million, if I'm right.
Right.
So they have the population to travel. I know there was one ferry company in Trinidad was doing Grenada Trinidad route, but I don't know what become of it. I no longer see it happen.
Mhm, mhm. Like
So
you mentioned the whole population issue, Gavin, and coming out of that also, I will add the fact that now that sorry, now that we have the AIA that does direct flights, maybe the issue of the Barbados route is not as pressing anymore because we no longer have to go to Barbados to connect to the US or to connect to Europe. So that
that
may
is
also be
correct.
another dimension. That may also be because
Correct.
before AIA, we all had to go to Barbados. So you could understand a ferry coming through and taking people to Barbados, whether it's twice or three times weekly, to connect to their flights to go to New York or to go to London or where have you. But now with the AIA, we no longer need that connection, and so that may
Correct.
no longer be an issue. So I guess
Correct.
that is something that you would take into consideration. But like you said, the issue of agriculture and cargo going to Barbados, going to Trinidad, maybe something that's worth considering. But I just had to throw the question out because you always hear it, and people ask that all the time. I've seen comments under your video, the video posted of your ferry, where people ask about an inter-island ferry, and so that's the reason I asked the question. So basically, you do not think it's as viable at this point.
No, because of the population, we don't we're not crossing over 1 million, and that's one of the things you have to look at. Without that population, if it was like if you had like 1.5 million, definitely.
But what about the
Because
people, Gavin, who have to go to Barbados regularly for their visa appointments or Trinidad for the Canadian visa appointments? Do you think that maybe if there's a schedule once a week or twice per week return voyage, that maybe if it's considerably cheaper? Because Gavin, keep in mind that it's sometimes cheaper to fly to Miami than to Barbados. Don't you think that if
well, we
individuals
all know that.
have a cheaper flight, have a cheaper route, how long do you think it would take to Barbados? Let's say your ferry takes 3 hours to Barbados, comfortable, air
Well,
conditioned,
from port
regular,
from uh,
don't you think
from
that people
port
would
to
take that
port.
approach?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying that if you have that level of comfort, and you would tell me the time it would take, don't you think if people can pay even half as much instead of paying 800 EC one way for a flight to Barbados, if individuals can pay that 800 EC return on a ferry, don't you think that people may go for that instead? And you would tell us about the length of time it would take for the trip.
Well, I know from Barbados, from Kingston to Barbados is about 95 miles, nautical miles, port to port. Uh, you probably looking at definitely at 6 hours. Okay,
Right.
6.5 hours. All depends on the weather condition. But it comes back to what I'm saying, the population. Now, you can do that once a month, but how many people is going for a visa from St. Vincent to Barbados?
Everybody is Barbara Chicago.
Yeah, I know, I know what you said, but let's see. What's a return ticket? Because the last time I fly Barbados to St. Vincent was 270 US with Virgin return.
Okay.
Uh, I think Inter-Caribbean, 'cause I just booked a flight for one of the guys that came down with the boat from Panama. He actually leaving tomorrow, and I think it was 270 US with Inter-Caribbean,
Okay.
228 US. So that's per person. Um,
So we're looking at about 700 EC dollars return.
correct.
Okay.
6 hours. 6 hours go, 6 hours come. 12 hours. Hmm. With a fast boat, it's gonna be around the same price.
Okay. Okay.
Just
But keep in
excuse me a
mind
minute,
that
huh?
that there's
Th-
no
that-
keep in mind that there's no luggage restriction. One check luggage and one carry on. You could carry
correct,
two, three, four
correct.
suitcases. You carry some boxes and so on. I'm just saying,
Just excuse me 1 minute. Hold on.
ladies and gentlemen, we're chatting with Mr. Garvin Ollivierre, and Garvin is the CEO of Beckwith Fast Ferry. Uh, and Beckwith Fast Ferry is the ferry that has just started to operate between St. Vincent and Beckwith, recently with the new fast show. He mentioned to us that, and let me tell the director, you can go solo direct with just me, so you can click on me and just go solo with me alone, right? The Beckley Fast Ferry, as he just mentioned to us,
All right.
just mentioned
Sorry
to us,
about that.
is that's fine, Gavin. And this ferry has been operating now for, it started operating on the 13th of April. It's maiden voyage, and I would have loved to have been on the
Correct.
maiden voyage, but I wasn't. Um, and is now operating between Beckway and St. Vincent. Not yet in the Southern Grenadines. Possibility for expansion, but at
Definitely.
least they're making sure that they first of all get this particular force road down pack. Give me, Gavin, the schedule for the Beckley Fast Ferry. When does it leave St. Vincent? When does it leave Beckley?
Yes, definitely. So our schedule Monday to Saturday. Okay. We depart Beckway 6:30 a.m., 8:45 a.m., 12 p.m., 4:15 p.m. That's from Beckway. That's Monday to Saturday. Okay. Depart Kingston 7:45 in the morning. Yeah, 7:45 a.m. Then 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 5:15 p.m. Now on Sundays we depart back at 7 a.m. and 4:15 p.m. on Sundays. Depart Kingston 8:15 a.m. and 5:15 p.m. on Sundays. So that's our schedule. And as I said, the fare is 25 EC one way, 50 EC return. The return fare for the driver and the standard size car is 155 EC return.
So if you have a big SUV like mine, it's a bit more expensive.
You go under the class of SUV, one class.
Okay, okay. Uh, Now, in terms of the support so far, Gavin, what has the support been like? Have nationals of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, specifically Beckway, welcome the additional service?
Oh, definitely. Not just in Beckway. Well, there's a lot of people that I know from driving taxi. That I go from all over the world, congratulated me, telling me it's well needed. Uh, and even all the, you know, I will say half the people of the islands, welcome this new ferry. They call it a game changer. Uh, the feedback is the same in St. Vincent, just as Beckway. There's a lot of people that's actually, while we're there in Kingston, coming to see the boat. They heard about it and they just want to walk through the boat to see what it's like. And so you're also invited to take a tour of the boat and see. I actually did an interview with One News today. They came on the boat and ferry, so they have an article about it as well.
Okay, it's a
That's
it's a, it's
Damien
interesting.
Max taking
David
on.
McTeer, yes, of course, I know Damien. Now, Gavin, people wouldn't know this, so I guess I'm going to have to say this, but over a year ago, more than a year ago, before I went to the UK, I got photos of your boat. You sent me photos of your boat because, of course, as I said, I remember you while I was at the office of the Prime Minister, you brought some stuff for me from Elliot Marshall. I saw photos of your boat and so forth, and I've been waiting on this new service for a very long time. And before you left Roatan in Honduras, you sent me videos of the boat. I'm yet to come on the boat. I'm yet to see the boat, but I'm looking forward. I want to take you up on this. I'm going to come. I'm going to take a voyage. I'm going to bring my SUV. I'm going to bring my camera. And I'm going to ask,
Definitely.
make sure you give me a tour of the entire boat so I can show the viewers here of Up Late with Sion Marshall the whole experience of the Beckwith Fast Ferry. Because, like you said, it's a game changer. It's the first fast ferry in St. Vincent and the Grenadines that accommodates both passengers and vehicles. The others never did. And so, absolutely, if you can get to Beckwith in 40 minutes with your car, it is definitely a game changer. And I want to congratulate you, Garvin, congratulate you and your family, your
Thank
wife,
you.
for this bold move. You're a young man. You and I spoke personally
Well,
about the level of the investment that you've made, a sizable investment. I'm not going to ask you to say it. If you feel comfortable enough to say it, that's fine, but I'm not going to ask you to. And it's a bold move. So I want to wish you all the best and congratulate and commend you for such a bold move.
thank you so much. I'm not as young, you know. You look at these things, yeah.
I'm
I'm
sure I'm
getting
older than you,
older.
Gavin. I'm sure I'm older than you, Gavin. I'm sure I'm older than you. I'm sure I'm older than you. I'm sure I'm older than you. You know what I'm saying? But even if I mean, I said young because I want to emphasize it, but the investment is sizable regardless. And
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, I have to
You know,
commend you.
as this for every man, you need a good woman behind you, and that's what I have.
Listen, I
So
absolutely agree with that. A good partner is not just important, but it is
yeah,
essential to any individual wanting to go forward, whether it's in business or what have you. That support system is absolutely critical, and without it, you
every
wouldn't
day.
be able to achieve much. Absolutely. So I agree with you. I agree with you. And so
You
listen,
know,
as I said,
and not
yes,
just that. You know, for the last 3 years, basically, away, and you know, I have 2 kids. You know, one, my son is 7, my daughter is 4. So you can imagine my wife here with 2 kids alone, and you know how that goes sometimes.
right,
So
right. Right. Well, bro, I want to wish you all the best. I would have loved to done. I would have loved to have done or to be doing this weekend, but this weekend I plan to really focus on some work I have to do, some academic work I need to do and complete. So I have to do that. But listen, I plan to take you up on your offer. I'm going to come. I'm going to drive my big SUV onto your boat, and I'm going to come to Beckwith. I just experience the Beckwith Fast Ferry because I believe it is really and truly a game changer. And I want to wish you all the best. And bro, like I said to you privately, as we communicate very regularly, any assistance I can offer, just let me
thank
know
you.
and I'll be there. All right. So let me thank you for being a
You're
part of this
welcome.
program. For being a part of this program. Let me wish you all the best. You, your family, your wife. Thank her so much for supporting the son
Thank
of the
you.
soil. And bro, all the best in your endeavors. And
Thank
I
you.
hope that very soon you expand to the southern Grenadines so that if I want to go to Union Island, I can jump on, put my boat on, and because I'm your friend, I get special discount for the deal. I had to put that in. I had to put that in. I had to put that in. You know, but God,
Acceptable. I understand.
I can't emphasize how much I wish you all the best and all the success with your endeavors, buddy. All the
Thank you
best.
so much. Thank you so much. And you have Damian Macte number, so you can ask him about the ride down.
I have, I do. I'm familiar with Damon. I have his number. He has mine. So, but no, I don't want to ask Damon about the ride. I want to come and experience the ride myself. When I talk about the ride, I talk about the
Okay,
ride.
you just like surprises.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Listen to me.
Okay, okay,
I tell you
okay.
something. A few months ago, I rode some ferries. It's the biggest thing I ever saw. I was going from Scotland to Ireland, Belfast, and when
Correct.
I saw the number of vehicles, bro, going on this ferry, I ain't talking about 10 and 15 and 20.
No, I know. Them
And
is all 400,
yeah,
300.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
containers and all kind of thing on these things and so forth. I
Correct.
thought, wow. And I rode that ferry on the sea, going across the channel, and I did not feel a single shake. So I
Yeah, well,
am really looking
those are
forward.
big ship. They
Big,
make for
big,
that type
huge,
of weather.
huge,
Uh,
huge.
bet between those islands, they get pretty rough,
It
especially
can
in the
be.
winter.
So I took that one from Scotland to Belfast in Northern Ireland, and then I took the one from Northern Ireland into Wales. And at no
Mm-hmm.
time I get seasick, by the way, I'm telling you. And at no time did I even feel like I was on the water. So I'm really looking forward to riding the Beckley-Fast ferry, and I'm not going to delay it very much. I'm going to make
Okay.
sure that very soon I can't make all body go on the boat before me. So very
Okay.
soon, before everybody centered right on the boat, I have to come and join with you and your crew and your team on the Beckley Fast Ferry.
It will be a pleasure to have you.
All right, man. Thank you so much for joining. All the best. Have a good night.
Thanks.
All
All
right.
right. Take care, man. Appreciate it.
Yes, man. Take care. All the best.
All right.
And that was Mr. Garvin Ollivierre. He is the CEO of the Beckway Fast Ferry, the new fast ferry that has hit St. Vincent and the Grenadines, operating between, for now, St. Vincent mainland and the Beckway, and possibly at some point later between all of the Grenadine Islands. Let me thank you so much for joining this evening's program, tonight's program of Up Late with Sion Marshall. My apologies again for the technical difficulties we experienced and, excuse me, the late start. But hopefully, you got a full hour of the program this evening. Thank you so much for joining. And until next week, when we are back with you with another exciting program, this is Sion Marshall on behalf of my director saying, have a good evening. Take care.